Hello, everyone. Welcome to In the Corner, the place where every cricketer wants to be. I'm your host, Callum, and thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Today, we are going to be reviewing day one of the IPL Mega Auction for season 2025. And joining me to do that is Kartik Sansanwal. Kartik, how are you, mate? First time on the podcast.
Yeah, good. How are you?
I'm
First time,
very
yeah.
well, mate. It's
Thanks for
it's
having me.
great to see you again. We worked at Saka many years ago now, and
Yeah,
yeah, it's great that we're able to catch up here on the podcast.
yeah. The world is small now with the technology and Zoom. We are in different cities. You are in Adelaide. I'm in Melbourne. We work together in Adelaide as a SACA cricket officer, and been a while, really, 5 years. Time flies.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to get through, Kartik, so we're going to
Yeah.
start straight away. So, just quickly, IPL auction, day one, mega auction, so it goes across 2 days. What was your biggest surprise from day one?
A few players been unsold, and few just sold for too much money. That was the biggest surprise. Rishabh Pant, yes, he's a good player. He's done well in the test. He has won few test games here and there. Couple of good innings in IPL. Hasn't really shown good leadership when he was the captain of Delhi Daredevils. Didn't really play much in terms of, didn't get too many runs last season, but still looking at the amount, the highest paid ever, 27 crores, just a bit too much for me.
Absolutely. And I think Shreyas Iyer going for 26.75, that was way too much. And considering Shreyas Iyer has been so injury prone the last sort of 12 months, I think it's a very risky move. I know that he's played under Ricky Ponting at the Delhi
Yeah.
Capitals, I think around that sort of COVID period, 2020/2021. Yeah, but I think that was just way too much. And I think some fast bowlers going for a little bit too much money as well. Obviously, we know Jofra Archer is such a talent, but 12 crore for someone who is
Yeah.
injury prone and potentially won't even play in the tournament as well. I think that's a massive risk for Rajasthan. And Natarajan hasn't been seen basically since that test match that he played in
Yeah.
Australia 4 years ago. He's been injury prone for the last 4 years, but him going for nearly 11 crore, that is a
Mm.
huge, huge surprise. And I think Glenn Maxwell only going for around that 800,000 Australian mark. That was
Yeah.
quite surprising. I know there were a few teams that were interested, but he ends up reuniting with Ricky Ponting at the Punjab Kings now that he's switched over from the Capitals. So let's go through the teams one by one,
Sure.
Kartik. So let's start with the Chennai Super Kings. Um,
Yeah.
they did quite well yesterday, but they're known to not overpay for players, and I think that's one of the reasons that they've been so successful in their time. Stephen Fleming's a very good operator, but I think their batting looks pretty solid, and I really like that they've brought back Ravi Ashwin. I think him and
Yeah.
Jadeja will bowl well at Chennai, which is generally quite a spin-friendly ground. But what did you make of what the Super Kings did?
Yeah, so historically speaking, Chennai Super Kings very high on values. They believe in what they're doing and they stick to the same plan year after year. They stick to the same support staff, same leader, same sort of core of their team. Stephen Fleming, doing what he does year after year, like retaining the core, which is MS Dhoni, Rituraj Gaikwad, who was leading them last year, Ravindra Jadeja, great all-rounder, still has to show great potential in 2020. Patirana, really good. I think one of the best last season. And looking at the buys now, they've brought back Ashwin, who played for them for almost, I think, 6 seasons. He's a local boy, and they most likely they're looking at the leadership from that angle. Rituraj, from the leadership angle, didn't really do well from that side. So knowing Ashwin and the kind of analysis and the mindset that he brings in, yes, they've gone like a lot of money, paid a lot of money to him, but I think he is a good buy. He's contribute well in that leadership group. Along with that, I think Stephen Fleming has stuck with few Kiwis, David Convoy and Sachin Ravindra. So yeah, looks solid. The surprise was the Afghani newbie who is Noor Ahmed, went for almost 10 crores. He was a big surprise. Dressed, looking good.
Yeah, I think the other two bowlers that they picked up, Noor Ahmed, who played for the Gujarat Titans last season,
Yeah.
the Afghani left arm leg spinner,
Yeah.
and Khalil Ahmed, the left arm pacer who's played for Delhi for a number of years. I think those will be good additions. I still think they'll need a couple more Indian pace bowlers, so we'll see what they can pick up tonight. If we're looking at the Delhi Capitals by far steal the tournament with KR Rahul only going for 14 crore. I predicted last night that he would go to RCB for about 20, but teams didn't really just seem that interested in KR Rahul. It seems really surprising to me. I know there was a bit of bad blood between him and the Lucknow Super Giants, but I'm really shocked that he went for only 14. What are your thoughts, Kartik?
Yeah, so he was struggling with his form in the recent past. That could be one of the factors. And he has changed a lot of teams recently. So he hasn't really shown that loyalty to one team. Switched from Bangalore to Punjab, got released, and then to Lucknow. Didn't really go well with the management there. And now, so I think if you see, if you're seen on the TV arguing with the team owner, people don't take it well in India. So that could be one of the reasons. And yeah, so that's the amount for 14 lakh, 14 crores, which is a bargain. Most likely they've got their captain. He might keep as well. So looking good. With Delhi getting Mitchell Stark as well. Yeah, look solid as they've retained some of the cores. Like they've re- did that right to match card on Jake Fraser-mcgurk, who is a promising youngster along with Harry Brooks. So they've gotten decent buys, and yeah, I think they might be a bit lean on their bowling, like especially fast bowling. The only pacer I can see right now is Mitchell Stark. Nothing really else promising in there.
Yeah, T Natarajan and Mohit Sharma are also ones
Yep.
that are playing for the Delhi Capitals. But yeah, I just think a bit more depth. I know that Delhi's first team has always been quite strong, but the depth players, when teams get injuries, obviously it's a really long tournament. So that's something for Delhi to be wary of in the future. If we move on to Gujarat Titans, they ended up getting Josh Butler for nearly 16 crore. And I think this is a great buy. I know Rajasthan really wanted to keep Butler, but um, I think someone who's a bit more experienced to offer support to Shubman Gill, who's a young captain, and someone to keep wicket as well. I think it's a great buy. What are your thoughts about what the Gujarat Titans have done, Kartik?
Of course, looking at how they're managing things in a way, like it's more bowler centric team. Looking at Ashish Nehra being their coach, he's more keen on training and mentoring new bowlers coming in. But Josh Butler definitely something which they were lacking, like a wicket keeper batsman. Yes, they had Matthew Wade or the Indian keeper Saha, but yes, they pitched in well in few games, but weren't really uh, consistent with their performance. But I'm sure Josh Butler, what he has shown is he can bat on top of the order, probably with Shubman Gill. And yeah, Shubman on the other side isn't that aggressive if you compare it with Josh Butler, so that gives them that balance in the opening. Apart from that, this team is really looking good. But I'm sure the Indian bowlers that we are looking at, not so big names, but Prasidh Krishna, one of them, he's very quick. They've got Siraj. Uh, the Ahmedabad wicket is something where the ball seams. There is a lot of pitch movement, and Siraj and Prasidh Krishna are one of those bowlers, who will take advantage of those wickets. Rabada, yeah, that's also good boy, I think. Looking good. I like this team.
I think they were. I was really surprised that RCB did not use the right to match card on Mohammad Siraj. I know when they retained him for the last mega auction, he was only on about 7 crore. But as we've seen in this particular auction, the wages have just increased so much for players. To think players like Spencer Johnson were getting 10 crore last year, and now 10 crore for a big name player just seems to be the new norm. I think it's getting to a point where it's getting a little bit out of control, as we've seen with Shreyas Iyer, Rishad Pant in particular, and when we come to Kolkata Knight Riders, Venkatesh Iyer. But yeah, they're looking to build a really good bowling attack. I like the three seam options they have. Obviously, Rashid Khan's in there. So yeah, just a little bit bits and pieces, a few extra players to help in the middle order, and I really like what they're doing. Kolkata, the champions from last season, they picked
Mm.
up Quinton de Kock at the top of the order. Gabaz is returning. So I'm not sure whether they really needed to double up in that area. They've retained Rinku Singh, who I think is a massive player for them, batting at number 5, number 6. But Venkatesh Iyer, 23.75. I thought that was a massive price to pay for him, considering that other players that are in the market for. Do you think that money is justified on Venkatesh Iyer? Obviously, we know he has a lot of talent, but feel like he's been very hit and miss. And I suppose Kolkata have been mostly using him as an impact player. What are your thoughts?
Uh, Looking at Kolkata, I think there are three teams who are very loyal to their players, and players are loyal to them. Chennai Super Kings, Mumbai Indians, and then Kolkata. And that's the reason why, these three teams have been the champions the maximum time. They retain their core. They love their former players. They don't want to let them go. This was the reason, why look at their retention. They've been playing for Kolkata for, I don't know how many years, but yeah, that's the identity. That's the identity of KKR. That's the identity of the player which they don't want to separate with. So that's one of the reasons they were desperate to get Venkatesh Iyer because he has done well, particularly last season when they won. He's a decent uh, bowler as well. Haven't used well, but yeah, he can bowl if required. If let's say Andrew Russell is not playing, he can do a bit of bowling as well. But they've got the depth in bowling. They've got the depth in batting. So yeah, looking solid as Quinton de Kock again. You know, they got it in a very l- bargain price. It was a steal. Uh, they might, yeah, they wanted to get Phil Salt, but yeah, they caught but Quicock, I think Quicock's name came a bit earlier than Phil Salt, and that was the reason, they wanted to secure that if Peacock went for exorbitant price, at least, they have Peacock. So that was the reason I think that they got Peacock.
Yeah, and I think Unrick Norkia at 675, I think that's a great buy as well. I know he has been injury prone, but if he can get himself fit, he was elite when he played for Delhi under Ricky Ponting, just given the license to bowl really fast. Now let's move on to the Lucknow Super Giants. As we've talked about at the top of the show, they paid massive money for Richard Pant. Do you think that money is justified? I think, as I sort of said on my predictions, he was the best Indian player that was available in this auction. But I think it's more about the markability for a franchise. They lost KR Rahul, who was their captain. Um, you would assume Rishabh Pant's going to be the captain if unless it's Nicholas Paran. So yeah, for 27 crore, what other things did you like in the auction? I see that they picked up David Miller. They paid probably a bit more for David Miller than I was sort of expecting. I think Aidan Markram's a really good buy. Mitchell Marsh was picked up pretty cheap as well. His connection with coach Justin Langer. Um, but yeah, I definitely think they need to get some overseas quicks tonight. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so again, personally speaking, it was a lot of money for Rishabh Pant. Yes, he's a great entertainer. People will love seeing him having a chat with the batsman while when he's keeping. But yeah, looking at the recent performance, especially in T20s, he hasn't been that great. But yeah, paying him that amount is a bit too much. So they will rely heavily on the three left-handers, which is Rishabh Pant, Puran, and David Miller. Apart from these three players, I don't see any quality batting there. Uh, with the three lefties there, it'll be easier for other teams to target. They can plan out accordingly. Definitely, I will see a lot of off spinners playing against that team. So yeah, I don't really see much depth in batting there. They will rely heavily on these three players. A lot of pressure if one of them fails. We've seen it in the past. These high value players don't really perform well because of the extra pressure. They've been expected to perform every game, justify the amount that's been paid. So yeah, all three of them decent money, but I doubt under pressure they have performed well in the past. They haven't done so. They've got Mitchell Marsh at a decent amount, but looking at his recent performance in IPL hasn't been great. Injury prone, but let's see how Justin Langer uses him.
Absolutely. Let's move into the Mumbai Indians. Now, they chose to retain no uncapped players and they've decided to go with Sharma, Hardik, Bumrah, Sky, and Tilak Verma. And I understand why they've retained all of those players due to loyalty. but it has obviously reduced their purse and what they've been able to do. So the only real player of note that they picked up last night was Trent Bolt. Now, Trent Bolt has previously played for Mumbai. He's been playing in most of the Mumbai teams around the world in Dubai and the MLC.
Yeah.
So, there is that connection that Bolt has with the Mumbai Indians and has had for a long time. So there's a lot of emphasis on Jasprit Bumrah and Trent Bolt because they definitely need to get some spinners. Definitely looking to get some high quality Indian spinners. Do you think they can pick up a bargain at the auction tonight? Is there anyone that you can think of that's still in the market that Mumbai could go after?
Um, Looking at this side, it's full of leaders, a lot of experienced players. So if you look at half of the side, like at least I can see six captains in this team, of potential captains, a lot of leadership, good brains. Uh, so I think the other phase of the auction for them would be picking up youngsters who can show some potential and, looking at these leaders, mentoring them in the journey. They're lacking spinners at the moment. They picked up Karan Sharma, who hasn't had it played since years, hasn't done well in domestic cricket either. So spinning. Looking at Mumbai, it's a slow wicket, so they would need those spinners. So lacking on spinners, and again, the pressure would be on Bumrah and Bolt to pick up those early wickets. If they don't pick it, in the middle overs, the pressure will then go to the youngsters or the spinners, and we might see some big runs being scored against them. But the batting is looking solid as, isn't it? Looking at the openers and then Surya coming in, and then there is some depth with Tilak Verma coming in at the end. Looking really solid with the batting, but bowling is something, if you, let's say Bumrah or Bolt get injured, they have nothing. They have nothing to rely on. So they might be targeting to build their squad around bowlers today.
Question for you, Kartik. With David Warner going unsold last night, do you think he is someone that the Mumbai Indians could go after as an overseas opener to partner with Rohit Sharma at the top of the order?
I doubt because they haven't shown interest in him in the past ever. There's some teams like Delhi in particular, so he has that good uh, connection with the team, with the owners. So I think everyone's waiting for these base price because his base price was 2 crores, wasn't cheap. So they'll probably exhaust their purse today, and if whatever is left, someone might pick him up.
I'm pretty confident that someone's going to pick him up, but it's
Yeah,
just going to be once everyone works out what's left over and what gaps
yeah,
teams need to fill. But we'll touch on that a little bit later on.
yeah.
Let's move on to the Punjab Kings. Ricky Ponting, in charge of the Punjab Kings, made a big statement early on going after Shreyas Iyer, 26.75. I think that's a lot of money, as I said at the top of the show, to pay for someone like him. But I really like what they've done in the all-rounder departments. They haven't overpaid for Glenn Maxwell, around 765 Australian dollars. Not sure what that equates to in crore, but they've been able to pick up Marcus Stoinis as well, who's performed well for Australia in the middle order the last couple of years and does have a pretty good IPL record. Played with Lucknow last season, peeled off a couple of really high scores to get himself into the World Cup. Did they overpay for Arshdeep Singh at 3.2 million Australian?
Not really. I think he's one of that local pull for the crowd. He's a local boy from Punjab. So that local language, Punjabi language. So the marketing side is definitely there. Along with that, I think he has shown potential in the World Cup as well. He's bowled well. South Africa has bowled well. Yes, he can go for runs if he's not, pitching in the right areas. But yeah, the Punjab's wicket will favor the fast bowlers, and it does favor Ashdeep certainly. Shreyas Iyer, yes, I think that the fast connection with Ricky Ponting can be seen here. Uh, with the retention as well. Marcus Stoinis, Glenn Maxwell, same thing Ricky Ponting did when he was the coach of Delhi Daredevils or Delhi Capitals. He's trying to build a squad around the same sort of people who gelled up well together. And correct me if I'm wrong, this team, Ricky Ponting and Shreyas Iyer led team reached the finals of one of the IPL. So I think he will try to replicate what he did and what worked for him in the past. He didn't care about what the dollar value is there, but he definitely want to build the team around that. Glenn Maxwell, very inconsistent. He's done well, like in bits and pieces. He's done well for Punjab once, but I was surprised, looking at how he came, I think, recently in last few weeks, spoke something about the former Punjab coach Sehwag and how when he didn't play, Sehwag blaming Maxwell and so on, and then Punjab picking him up again. So that could be one of the reasons, after every season, Maxwell, I don't know, big mouth or big show, but whatever his name is, people do take those comments very seriously. Like backfighting your old teams or great player, definitely. But looking at what he's been sold for, that could be one of the reasons. Uh, I think nothing performance based, but how he has, I would say, spoken about the former teams, and yeah, that's about it. The reason why he's in Punjab is Ricky Potting, nothing else.
I think if you look at Stoinis and Maxwell together as a bit of a package around that $2.8-3 million mark Aussie, I think it's pretty good value. If you said you were going to pick up those two for 3 million, you'd be, yeah, that's not bad. Like, did
Yeah,
they potentially overpay on Stoinis? Yeah, but
yeah,
Stoinis has been, had a pretty good IPL record in the
yeah,
past. And Chahal as well, 18 crore. I think this is massive for him. I think it's truly well deserved. Leading wicket taker in IPL history. I could not believe that he wasn't retained by Rajasthan Royals. And I also couldn't believe originally he wasn't retained by RCB leading into the mega
yeah,
auction in
yeah.
2022. So do you think this is deserved? Why are teams not giving Chahal the love? Like, I just don't understand it.
Just that marketing side of it, how a player markets themselves. Rishabh Pant, one example. Shreyas Iyer, one example. A lot of social media, a lot of connection with the youth, a lot of connection with the brand. Similarly, Chahal on the other side, performance-wise, doing really well for every team wherever he goes. Money wasn't a constraint for him when he was in RCB. I heard in one of the interviews, he said, no communication whatsoever. I just saw the news that I have not been retained and going in auction. So he's performed really well for Rajasthan. Yeah, they couldn't retain him because they wanted to build the team around Cheswal, Samson, and that side. But yeah, look, uh, fantastic. Happy for him. He got what he deserved, monetary wise. But I think his performance is something. Yeah, he doesn't get a chance in the Indian team, which is surprising, isn't it? You
Oh,
know?
I can't believe how
Yeah,
little love he gets in the Indian
yeah,
team. There was a period where he was pretty much first choice spinner for India and white ball cricket, and now it's sort of gone with Kuldeep and Jadeja as well. You've got Washington Sundar who plays in an all rounder capacity. So, yeah,
yeah,
obviously tough choices for India, as we've
yeah.
seen recently. They've got India A, India B, India C, and India D sides all playing
Mm,
against each other. So the talent
yeah,
in Indian cricket is absolutely sky high at the moment. Kartik, if we look at the Rajasthan Royals, they did something that no other club did, and that was retain six players.
mm,
Um, it's obviously affected what they've been able to do. As we talked about at the top of the show, they've been spending money on Jofra Archer. They spent about 12 crore on him. They went for Hasaranga, the Sri Lankan all-rounding leg
yeah,
spinner. And then they've also gone for Tik Sharma from Sri Lanka. Previously,
yeah,
he's played for CSK. I really think they need to get some local Indian spinners tonight. I think that's a big area of concern. The batting looks pretty good, pretty solid with Sanju Samson, Jaswal, Sharon Hetmeyer, Jarrell, the keeper batsman who's playing in Australia at the moment as we speak. So yeah, they've got lots of talent with the bat, but in the past we have seen it's with the ball that they've been really struggling. What are your thoughts?
yeah. Coming back to your opening statement on Chopra Archer, yes, overpriced, injury prone, didn't really do well last season for whatever couple of games he played, and spending that much money on him, the only connection could be he's played for Rajasthan in the past, has that connection with the coaches, the bowling coach, and Rahul Dravid. So they want to show that trust in him again. Hope he stays fit, but he needs some partners. I don't see any fast other. Like Sandeep Sharma is there. He played really well last season. surprisingly, he was unsold the season before, and he was like an injury replacement last season. He bowled well. Rajasthan showed the trust in him, retained him, and the core is looking good batting wise. They still, yeah, they have Hetmaya, but depending on how the position is. Great finisher, I think one of the best finisher in the world right now. Hetmaya and Nicholas Puran, both of them. So yeah, looking good batting wise, but I think they still lack a couple of fast bowlers.
Yeah, I would agree. I think someone like Spencer Johnson might come into consideration if they're wanting a left-arm seamer. Obviously, not to overpay for someone like him, due to their purse being quite tight already. But yeah, if they can get a couple of local Indian players, some local Indian seamers, I think that's going to go a long way. I've been tipping Rajasthan Royals for the flag for the championship the
Yeah,
last 3 years. I really like what they've done in the auctions, but now that they've had to basically reset and go again, it can make or break teams. So we'll see how it goes.
yeah, they
RCB,
should have gone for some all rounders as well. There's no all rounder in that team right now. None.
yeah, well, maybe that's something that they can do tonight,
Yeah,
Kartik, for sure.
yeah,
If we move on to the Royal Challengers Bangalore, they've got Kohli. Do you think Kohli's going to be captain?
no,
No.
no.
Who do you think's going to be captain at this point? I'm not sure.
Yeah, still not sure. But looking at why Kohli left captaincy, he's going back to it. That would be a surprise. But RCB, yeah, I think they were. What were they doing yesterday?
Yeah, I think they were sitting pretty tight, keeping the cards close to the chest.
Yeah,
I'm really shocked they didn't pay up for KO Rahul.
yeah.
I know they went after Phil Salt. They paid a bit for Phil Salt, so I think Phil Salt was around the 10 crore mark, which I think is a lot for someone like him. I know he has done really well for Kolkata last year and England over the last 12 months. But yeah, a lot of money to pay for someone like him. They went with Liam Livingston. I think he's a good buy on that small ground at the Chimaswami. The cake tin, as I call it, the small boundaries everywhere that you look. They went with Josh Hazlewood, has played for RCB before and has done really well for them. Fantastic T20 bowler. But once again, RCB need bowlers so badly, and they better pull something out tonight, because otherwise I think they're in for a world of pain. Their batting doesn't look too bad. They've got Kohli, Patidar, Salt, Livingston, but I think they just need more. They need more local players. Do they try and get Faf du Plessis back as the captain? He's getting a little bit older now. What are your thoughts about du Plessis?
Uh, yeah. So most likely, they might have had those conversations with either Virat Kohli or Duplessis around leadership. If at all any other team have to pick Duplessis, it would be Chennai Super Kings. If not, then yeah, he's coming back to RCB if he's fit. Uh, yeah, they weren't really doing anything yesterday. The RCB management in that auction table. Phil Salt, yes, great buy, great uh, performance for England recently. Played well for KKR. Livingston very very inconsistent with his performance. The Jitesh Sharma, that local boy, he looks really well. But the surprise was RCB not going for KL Rahul. He's a local boy from Bangalore, played for RCB before, has that connection that could have led them, could have kept wickets for them, and could have built like a longer team around him. As in, he can go for years for RCB, probably retire with, for RCB. But yeah, it's shocking. They had the maximum purse, if I'm not wrong. But
Punjab had the most in the purse
okay,
because they only
okay,
retained the two uncapped players. But yeah,
yes,
they
okay,
definitely had the second biggest purse available
sure,
to them.
yeah. Yeah, and looking at how they spent on day one, that's been disappointing for every RCB fan, and that's the story really year after year. For RCB and Delhi, because they don't really retain their core. They just let go of the players. Those players go for exorbitant amount, and then following years they try to get them back at higher value, and then you don't really build a connection with the players if you just keep on just releasing them.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more, Kartik. Lucky last, Sunrisers Hyderabad. I quite like what they've done. They were pretty bold in retaining 5 players: Head, Heinrich Klaassen, Pat Cummins, Abhishek Sharma, and uh, Nitish Kumar Reddy, who's playing in Australia at the moment. So congratulations to him on his Test debut. In terms of notable buys at the auction, think Rahul Chahar is actually a pretty good buy. I think Mohammad Shami, if he gets himself fit, will be really good. And I actually quite like Harsha Patel as well. They bought Adam Zampa as well. I don't think Zampa's going to play too much. It's just going to depend on how they want to balance their overseas players, but he's always someone handy to have. So what are your thoughts, particularly with the two Indian seamers that they've brought in?
Oh, really good. Shami is a steal at that price, 10 crores. I was thinking probably, you could go for 17 and 18 the way he was bowling in the 50 over World Cup last year. And, his recent performance in the IPL has been great as well for Gujarat Titans. Uh, they Even if they released Pat Cummins, they might have picked him up at the same price, matching the card, similar sort of 2 million price or even lesser. Something what happened to Mitchell Starc, half the price what he got last year. So that's something was a bit of a surprise, but I think they're looking at from the leadership angle, Pat Cummins maintaining that leadership again. They did really well last season. They played finals, and the good buy was Ishan Kishan. So that's one of the area they were struggling with. That middle order batsman who can come in, join Clarkson, and just keep smashing the ball. So they've got Head, Abhishek Sharma, absolute carnage on top, and Ishan Kishan who can smack the ball, and then you have Klaassen who can just, on his day, he can just torment everyone. And then Nitish Reddy who showed what he's capable of in the last session of his yesterday's test match. So looking good, but the bowling wise, spinning, yes, yes, we have Rahul Chahar and Adam Zampa. Between two, one will play. They might need a bit of an extra supporting role with a bowling all rounder as well.
Yeah, I think just another couple of Indian spinners to complement what they've really got. I'll kind of disagree with you on Ishan Kishan. I just think he's been it wasn't a bad buy in the scheme of things, considering how much Shreyas Iyer and Rishabh Pant were going for. But someone who has been quite inconsistent in IPL in times gone by. I think he was bought back for 15 crore by the Mumbai Indians and hasn't really lived up to that price tag, as we've sort of talked about today. So I feel like if he's not batting at the top of the order, he's kind of in no man's land. Maybe if he bats number 3, it might not be so bad for him. But Sharma and Head are definitely opening next year based on what we've been able to see this year. So, yeah, it will be really interesting to see what they sort of do. With the unsold round, I think Warner's going to go somewhere. I think Faf du Plessis is going to go somewhere tonight. I think that's very obvious. Are there any sort of players who are unsold from yesterday that you think will get an opportunity?
Might be Johnny Bairstow, in case one of the teams don't really have that good keeper backup, might pick him up at the base price what Punjab did last year. I think he was bought at that peanut price. Apart from that, yeah, there are some Indian bowlers there. Again, if uh, this, some teams still have some purse left, they might come back to these players. Like Umesh Yadav is one of them, experienced. There's this guy, Shreya Gopal, Kartik Tyagi, one of the Indians. So yeah, these would be like a backup bowlers to the squads. If their main bowler gets injured, they might have that bench strength.
Absolutely. Well, Kartik, I just want to say big thank you for coming on the podcast. We're certainly going to be catching up later tonight when Australia most likely lose to India tonight. So we're going to be doing a full review of that test match, and we've certainly got a lot to talk about. So, Kartik, thanks very much for coming on the podcast, and we'll see you a little bit later on.
Pleasure, mate. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yep.
Thanks for watching In the Cordon at home. Make sure that you subscribe to all of our social media pages and subscribe to all of our channels. We'll see you in the next video. Cheers.